Hey, thanks so much for listening to the Ridge Community Church podcast. My name is John. I'm one of the pastors on staff at the Ridge, and our vision is to bring the hope of Jesus into every home. So as a piece of that, our goal each week is to bring you something that's hopeful and helpful. So subscribe to this podcast to make sure you don't miss any hopeful and helpful conversations. Hey everyone, and thanks for listening to this episode of the Ridge Community Church podcast. If you find today's episode hopeful and helpful, then please follow or subscribe, and then rate and review so that more people can find the conversation. For today's episode, our guest is Madison Lenzke. Madison graduated from Trinity College in 2022 and has a great perspective on what it's like to follow Jesus in college. Now, while the majority of our conversation focuses on her experience in college, I think that you'll find that many of the things that she shares will be helpful for parents with college students or soon-to-be college students, high schoolers getting ready for college, and really anyone leaving their parent or guardian's home for the first time. This is my conversation with Madison. Hi, Madison. Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me. I'm super excited.
A little bit less than a year ago, you graduated from college at Trinity. Mm-hmm. Could you share maybe a little bit about why you went there? What was that like? And what you're up to now?
Of course. So it's a Christian school. So because I started my faith so late in high school, I knew I wanted to find somewhere where I could just continue to grow in that. I also wanted to continue playing softball. So Trinity allowed me to not only grow my faith, but continue playing the sport I loved. So I just loved how it was such a small school where you know everyone in your class, you knew everyone at the school, the professors really cared for you and like wanted to go to all of your events outside of just regular class, which I really loved. But I graduated with a major in psychology, but I am a paraprofessional at an elementary school. It's actually the elementary school I went to, so kind of full circle.
Yeah.
And right now I'm going back to be licensed as a special ed teacher. So
nice. That's super fun and challenging too, I'm sure. Kind of a combination of both.
Yeah, I'm very nervous. It starts in May, but I think I'll be okay. And then I also work for my sister's apparel company that she started last year in honor of my nephew. So. You
got lots of hats.
Yeah.
I guess for an apparel company, that's it. That's my worst joke of the year right there. But it's okay. Maybe I'll edit it out. Who knows? Curious. So you mentioned that you decided that you wanted to go to a Christian school. What kind of went into that decision, right? So was that like, oh, you had some Christian and non-Christian that you applied to, and then you had to make that choice, or were you like, nope, I'm for sure going to a Christian school and I'll only apply to Christian schools?
Yeah. So I initially was going to Whitewater, and I was going to major in special education, and then I went to districts, the youth group convention type of thing.
Yeah, no one listening has any idea what districts is, so give us a quick flyover.
It's a what's it called? A conference. It's a youth conference. Yeah. And it was my first year going, and that's when I actually came back from the trip wanting to get baptized. Mm-hmm. So the second time we were going to districts, I was like, okay, God, what are you going to do this time?
Yeah.
Set on Whitewater. 100%, like already got in. It was the whole 9 yards, and went to districts. I talked with someone who went to Trinity, played on the team, and just talking to her and then just being with God for that weekend. I was like, all right, time to go home and tell my parents I want to go to a different school.
Yeah.
So then I made the switch, and everything just kind of lined up perfectly to allow me to not only pay for this very expensive school, but live what I love and grow closer to God.
Sounds like God kind of orchestrated something cool there.
Oh yeah, only you know that. So.
Okay, so take us back in time to freshman Madison walks onto campus and is like, "What am I doing here?" You get to sit down with her, you get to have some coffee, and you get to give her some advice. What do you say?
Don't be scared.
Easier said than done, right?
You're alone. You know, you probably only know your roommate at this point, or if you're on a team, teammates. But my biggest thing would be to just get involved. Go try out any different things. join clubs if they have clubs. Like, just go and put yourself out there to meet new people, because these are the friends that you'll probably have for the rest of your life. And that will get you through, those 4 years or however long you want to be in college. I'd honestly say go to class, do your homework, because it does
Good
matter.
advice.
Don't be lazy. Because once you're lazy, it's hard to get out of that little hole you dug
You kind
yourself.
of build habits and you want to reinforce them well. Yeah.
Just schedule yourself really well. I know it's hard because I'm a procrastinator, so I definitely waited for like the last minute. When they're due at 11:59 and you're ready at 11, yeah, we're gonna get this 5-paper done.
Yeah.
But
I had a friend I went to college with, and he was like, due Thursday means do it Thursday. And I'm like, that's bold.
yeah, that was definitely me. But I'd say just, go to class. I know you're going to want to skip. Friends are going to want to skip, but go to class. Just sit through it. It's an hour.
And when you say your friends will help you get through it, what do you mean?
They kind of become your family away from your family, like your support system and stuff. So when you really surround yourself with, friends who value the same things you do, it helps you just stay motivated and wants to, keep going to class. Because if you're surrounded with people who skip class all the time, don't do their homework, you're more likely to do that. So just make sure you're picking, the right group of people, the right community to surround yourself around.
All right, so I want to transition to faith in 1 second, but first I'm curious, was there any like life skill that you really wished you would have like learned? Like maybe it's as simple as, I wish I knew how to use a rice cooker, or something like that. That was like, I didn't learn this when I was home and I could have, and it would have been helpful if I did.
Ooh, I don't know. Everything was basically handed, like I guess how to budget my money better. That's for sure one.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. Budgeting. Especially like if you're like, for me, I was in a sport, and so out of class you're practicing or whatever, so it's really hard to have a job.
Yeah.
So you really have to be very smart with your money and not just go spending it and on Starbucks every day. Definitely did that for months. And I'm like, now I'm out of money. Like finding a job on campus is a lifesaver. Like I ended up working for athletics.
Mm-hmm.
So at least I had like some income, go to Target on a Thursday night just to get out of my room,
Right.
But
yeah, budgeting's so huge. I think that's a skill that like you don't, unless you pursue it and you try to learn it, like it doesn't just like arrive at your doorstep like math, And so, which side plug here, I can throw some links in the show notes about some budgeting things that we do at the Ridge that can help you out, and some links for that. But transitioning over to faith.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, going to a Christian school, you knew faith was an important aspect of your life and you wanted to continue following Jesus. What were some things that helped you continue to follow Jesus throughout college?
So it was super nice at Trinity. We had to go to chapel twice a week. It was offered 3 times a week, but you only had to go to 2 to get the requirement. So
what's chapel?
It's basically just a service, like a church.
Okay. Gotcha.
On a Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we'd have it every time. And it was required you had to get a certain amount in the semester. So kind of forced you to go, which was good in a way, depending on where you were with your faith.
Sure.
Because for some people, having that requirement set is now you're just forcing me to do this, when other people were I was going anyways kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's finding that.
Yeah, where did you find yourself on that spectrum?
I didn't like the set amount because it also it was at 11 to 12, but some people have class at 12:05 or 12:10, whatever it was. So my life would be pushed forever away. So I'm I want to be there, what I also need to eat kind of thing. So I'd either like not eat and like have a late lunch or an early breakfast, like whatever it was.
Yeah.
So I found myself in the middle, but like once I went, I'm obviously, invested in it. But I
Yeah.
can definitely see both sides of a lot of the athletes only went to the school for athletics, and
Mm-hmm.
it showed that they didn't
Sure.
really care about that chapel aspect, which was very unfortunate. So I feel like I'd always just put myself in the middle.
Hmm. Okay, so what mindset do you feel like would be helpful or was helpful going to chapel, going to service to make it so that it didn't feel like you were forced to, or that you were able to actually like get something out of it rather than kind of go through the motions, I guess.
Yeah, so to be completely honest, I did go through the motions a couple of times, just
Yeah.
like these requirements, like I just have to go and I just like put my AirPods in and I'm like, okay, this is not what I'm supposed to be doing. Like this is another good time for me to actually listen to God's word and this is me growing closer to him. So
Yeah.
stop, tuning him out basically.
Yeah.
So once I switched my mindset to this is only going to like help me grow closer to him
Hmm.
is when I fully just sat and understood what the message was actually saying instead of just listening to music and the
Yeah.
AirPods. As bad as that is to say, but I'm going to be truthful here.
No, I think that's really important because I do think that, and that's not even just universally true for like chapel services at a university, right? That can be with anything. Like somebody wants you to go to the church with them, you go to church with them, and you feel like you're just going through the motions.
Mhm.
Or maybe somebody's a high schooler listening to this, and they go with their parents, and they're just going through the motions, right? I think it's very relatable that lots of people are experiencing that, and to take a second and step back and say, you know what, like this is an opportunity. And it can be helpful to see it as an opportunity instead of an obligation.
For sure.
How about besides from chapel? Were there anything else that helped your following of Jesus?
Yeah. So I gained a mentor through softball. She was my athletic trainer. I spent a lot of time in the training room with her. And so I'd come to her with all my questions that I couldn't ask someone back at home because the school was in Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I could have texted my people at home, but like I had her face to face to just answer any and every question I had, which was super
There's
nice.
a difference about face to face.
Yeah, for sure. And we actually started doing a Bible study together, one-on-one, weekly.
Wow.
And that really helped me just, stick with it and, want to keep pursuing that relationship with God. And I think without her, I would not be where I am today. I know that's very cliche to say, but she's the one that, pushed me to continue growing and ask those questions and to show my emotions, to God for whatever obstacles came throughout college, because college is hard.
Yeah.
Even or not, it's hard.
Yeah. So I'm sure that has two parts to it. One, there's like a mentor that's like pushing you and challenging you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And two, that's almost like a person to keep you accountable.
Yeah.
And I'm sure maybe that's not a mentor, maybe that is, but was that like, did you know that was going to be an important thing coming in, or did you kind of just happen to you?
It honestly kind of just happened.
Yeah.
She came to me and was like, what if we did a Bible study? Because I'd always be, trying to figure out ways to just, stay more involved, or I'd just automatically be asking her questions and like, let's just, dive into the word together. And that's exactly what we did.
That's awesome. That's so impactful because then you have like this rhythm of somebody that you're chatting with. You have this accountability. It's like, oh no, I need to continue doing this. I can't just kind of like wilt away into the shadows. Because I know, like you say, you're going to a Christian school, right? But that doesn't mean that everybody going there follows Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And they're all different places. So, yeah. Sorry, I don't want to pull the rug out from anybody that wants to go to a Christian school, but
there's always the two sides.
Right.
Two sides.
So, were there any maybe obstacles to your faith that you didn't necessarily expect going in?
So I've been going to the Ridge since I was a sophomore in high school. And so just finding a church to go to in person at school was very hard for me. I often said I was cheating on the Ridge because like that's my home. That's where I'm most comfortable. And because the Ridge is the only church I've really known, like I set everything to like not compare to the Ridge, but like Ridge does this way, I believe in that, and the other churches didn't. So that was very hard because I know how important it is to be in person.
Yeah.
I also loved the fact that the Ridge does online.
Yeah.
And so I actually would keep up with that, but then eventually Tyler asked me to start serving on the team.
Gotcha.
I was on YouTube for a while, still am, but it's definitely helped me.
Yeah, I'm exclusively digital, so I gotcha.
Exactly. You get it. But yeah, I'd say that was one of the obstacles just church wise. But just going through different struggles with softball, like the team wasn't that good. We were always losing. There was so much drama. Coach wasn't the greatest, and he stopped coaching us our senior year. And I'm like, all right, God, like, what are you trying to teach us here? Because we just completely like getting beat down and beat down. That was a huge obstacle of like, okay, now what type of thing.
Yeah.
My grandpa passed away. And then a couple weeks later, we found out my nephew was diagnosed with congenital heart disease. And so it's like all these negative things are now being thrown at me. And I'm like, all right, God, like, I did blame him for a while.
Yeah.
But it's just, having that mentor, my athletic trainer, kind of just helped me like get out of that and change my mindset of, like life happens. But like God is also trying to teach you something through all these obstacles, and he's gonna be there every step of the way. Not just gonna let you drown on your own. Like he's gonna pick you up and walk you through it.
Yeah. I feel like everybody has a different high school or growing up experience, and some, this is not universally true, right? Because there's definitely people that go through tragedy and heartache when they're in high school and middle school, whatever. There's also people that I feel like aren't necessarily as exposed to those types of things. Mm-hmm. And so I'm sure for a lot of people, college or maybe even moving out for the first time is that first chance where really not only are you facing something that's difficult, like a tragedy or a really hard circumstance, but it's your first time doing that out of the relative safety of your home, right? Yeah. And so I guess my question with that is that, was that your first real experience with those types of things outside of your home?
Yeah.
And then how did you learn to process through those?
I guess I'm the type of person who just like bottles it all in and show it on the outside. So unhealthy, but it's what it is. Just, having, like I've talked about, that support system of friendships and the community you build at school helps you when you're not with your family, that you can't, yes, I can call my mom, but that's different from me, walking in the door and giving her a huge hug,
Yeah.
So you just kind of learn how to adapt to that situation and just trust the people that you're with at school.
Yeah, and I'm sure having a mentor was super helpful for that.
Yes. Yes. Without her, I said it, like she helped me a lot outside of my family. Yeah. I'm very, very thankful for her.
So the number one thing I'm hearing is for college students, find yourself a mentor because
someone you trust and someone you can run to. Like, I know it's easier for me to say because I was, in softball and she was my athletic trainer. So I saw her all the time, but like, she would also keep me in check of like, okay, I started swearing, or like swear often and be like, Maddie, you need to like check yourself really quick. Like, don't get dragged into all this negative, like stay in your path and stay how well you were doing, So it's just nice to have her just kind of, I don't know, guide me along too, and just pull me out of the holes that I'm digging myself into, or, if I'm starting to lean towards the wrong way, she's like, all right, you actually need to like rewind and think about this stuff before you actually, do anything.
Very centering.
Yes, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, man, you had the awesome benefit of being able to like have it associated with kind of like your activity. And I think that can be a starting point for a lot of people that are maybe, if you're in college and you're looking for a mentor, it can be related to that. It's also like, if you're connecting with a good church, there's a really great place to find mentors to connect with. You mentioned even serving, where you get to connect that way. And so if you're looking, a lot of times when you're serving, you're going to have somebody who's leading you as somebody who's serving with you. And so you can grow that way. So I'd encourage anybody that's listening and they're like, oh, I don't know how to find a mentor. There's lots of ways that you can do it. And a local church is a really great way to do that. Okay. So now for a second, I want to have you talk to parents. Okay. So you get to talk, here's your little platform to speak to the parents of either current college students or soon to be college students. What would be helpful for parents to know?
That as hard as it is, you have to let them go and make decisions on their own. Let them fail. I know parents want to protect their kids as much as possible, but this is the first step into adulthood per se, that they are on their own. They need to make these decisions. They need to make, these mistakes that are bound to happen. You can't just be on them as much as you were in high school or middle school, whatever it was. Honestly, just let them fly away. As sad as that sounds, but also remind them that you'll always be there for the kids. Because, as a college kid, my mom would call me or my mom would text me, and I'm like, oh, like right now, really, like I'm busy, like you'll answer, and you're like, you get annoyed, but it's also like, they're there for you because they miss you. As a college kid, you miss them as well, but you just don't want to show it.
Sure.
I'm having of like, you give them enough space, but you also remind the kid of, hey, I'm always going to be here for you 100% of the way in every step. And if, like I'm here to pick you up too. It's not just this one way of like, okay, you're out of the house, goodbye. Because they still need you as much as they don't want to say it.
A challenging balance of giving space but being present, in the right way. It's got to be. I mean, obviously, I don't have a college student, and so it's I have no idea. But So, is there anything that you think that they can do when their kid is still in high school to help them like prepare for college?
I honestly say just, help them build that foundation with God, where, the kid can just lean on him as much as possible, so they're not quite feeling alone. Does that make sense? Because like, obviously people get homesick and they're one phone call away. But, like, we know that God's always there right next to us every step of the way. Once we have that foundation, I believe it helps and makes it just a little bit easier to get through those harder situations.
Yeah, that's such a good advice. I mean, you're essentially helping them have the ability and the connection with the God of the universe, right? That connection with Jesus to be able to sustain them through those challenging times. I mean, what a gift and what a a resource to hold them through as they go through college, and to help them have something to fall back on when, like we're talking about, they're out of the safe harbor and something happens, they have this relationship with God to fall back on.
Yeah, it's super important.
All right. So you mentioned earlier your friendships, how they help you get through. How important were your friendships, your community? And you kind of touched on this somewhat throughout, but how important were those throughout college?
It's probably the most important, in my opinion, because I mean, again, this is your first time away from home. You're not drowning, but like, you're treading water for a while and you're like, okay, like what happens next type of thing. And, when you find this good friendship and good community, it only goes better from there. Those are the friendships you're going to have for the rest of your life. Like, I was always told that, your high school friends are always going to be, your best friends for life. And a lot of the time, that's not how it happens. The college friends that you make, it's different when you're not back at home under that roof. Like you are living on your own essentially with these groups of people. And so just, this community also is just where you lean on like a family. Like you basically are a family at this point. You're family away from family.
Yeah.
It's family. You can lean on them when, you're struggling with whatever you may be struggling with. That you can have all the bad times and the hard times, but also the good with these friends. And this helps you just, build on what the rest of your life could be. Like I couldn't have done it without my two friends from college, and I know two is very minimal, but like I know the two friends that I made and relied on and did everything with, they're gonna be, one day in my wedding. They're gonna be my friends until the day I die, basically.
Yeah.
So they just set me up for a really good life as an individual now. When we all live in 3 different states.
Yeah. Are you guys still connecting? How do you guys connect? Like,
yeah, we
text all the time.
Yeah, basically. Or it's like it's hard now because we're out of college and I'm the teacher of the group, so I can't text 3:30. And so our joke is that like our group chat name is like an X with like 8:30 to 11:30 and then 12 to 3:30. It's like they can text during my lunch and that's it. Or else I miss too many conversations. And I'm like, guys, wait for me.
And all of a sudden they're sending gifts back and forth and you're like 9 down and you're like, wait, which one is that related to? Yeah.
Like now we're to the point where we solely will just comment on each other's Facebook posts. Like,
yeah.
You really made it. Like
you've made it. Yep. You're officially an adult. Yeah.
Exactly. That is it.
Okay. So last question for me. Did you have any misconceptions coming into college? And then obviously now going through and graduating and what were your misconceptions?
Well, I think this one's the funniest, but
I'm excited now.
Going to a Christian school, there's this thing called Ring Before Spring, right?
Yes. Okay, that's everybody. What's Ring Before Spring? What does that mean?
That you get engaged to before spring because it's just a lot faster of a process, and there's nothing wrong with that. For some people it works. For me, it doesn't.
Yeah.
But just that, you'll meet the man or the woman of your dreams that you'll want to marry eventually, and you'll live happily ever after. No, that's that is it in some cases, but some people, do for sure meet the person they're going to marry. Others don't, and that's okay. Yeah. It's okay not to meet that person. You're 22 when you graduate. Like it's okay. And that's what I learned because one of my best friends is engaged now. The other one's probably getting engaged any second now, and I'm just the only one. But it's okay.
Yeah. So did you have this expectation that you're like, okay, yeah, I'll probably meet somebody and get married by the time I'm done with college?
I definitely thought I would meet someone, but I'm also okay with that I didn't, if that makes sense. Because I totally used those 4 years of just growing as a person and again growing closer to God, that I feel like if I did or if I was in a serious relationship, I wouldn't be where I am right now. And like my relationship with God wouldn't be as strong as it is right now. That makes sense. But it is what it is. Yeah,
I mean the contentment with singleness, I think, is such a valuable thing for people to learn and appreciate. This is coming from somebody that did meet their future spouse in college, even if we didn't get married for a while. I mean, I have this small group that started meeting together in college, and then we still meet digitally. And so even when I was in Wisconsin, we would do Zoom calls and connect. And one of them got married during college, and there's some that haven't gotten married yet, and they're like 30. So it's just a whole spectrum. It doesn't, if you don't meet your spouse in college, it's okay.
Yes, it is okay. We'll get it. Let's just remember, it's not your timeline. And as cliched it is, it truly is God's timeline. Like, obviously,
Yeah.
He knew I wasn't ready. Like, I had so much growing to do. But my other friends or any other people who did meet their person in college, I mean, obviously, that's what God had planned.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, I think back to that idea of like contentment. It's like being okay when, and this is so challenging, right?
Yeah.
Just because your timeline for how things are going to line up, and this doesn't even just mean significant other, spouse, maybe it's job, maybe it's career, maybe it's something else where your timeline may look one way when you start heading out, when you leave home, whatever capacity that is, and that might not be how things work out.
Mhm.
And that's okay.
Sure. I know another huge misconception I had was that I had to have it all figured out by the time I got to college. I needed to know my major. I needed to know what I was going to do the rest of my life. But it's like you don't need to know. Eventually, but like change your major once or twice. Like it's okay.
Yeah.
You know, like I changed my major. I originally was elementary ed, then I switched to psychology, and that's what I stuck out with. But here I am back in education.
Yeah.
It's okay to, you know, change your mind and not know what direction you want to take your life. So, I mean, for me, I prayed a lot on it of like, all right, God, like, which direction are we going? Because I know it's supposed to be with kids, but in which way, you know? So just you know, having that foundation with Him too definitely helps. But it's okay not to know what you're going to do the rest of your life as a freshman.
And I love the key part of that. You said you prayed a lot about it, you know, and I think that there's a lot of comfort that can come with that, knowing that if you are praying about it, you're kind of releasing it and saying, hey, God, whatever you're going to do with this, I'm going to trust that you're going to send me in the right direction. And I think there's a lot of freedom in that, which it sounds like you're currently experiencing. Yeah. Well, awesome. Madison, thank you so much for chatting with me about this. I know that college it's challenging, it's new, it can be scary, and I think sometimes we can demystify some of it and get some helpful conversations and resources and things like that about it. So thanks for chatting with me and sharing your journey and your experiences and your wisdom.
Thanks for having me.
Well, that was my conversation with Madison. And I think my biggest takeaway was the impact of having a mentor in her life. You know, someone that she trusted and looked up to and was able to ask real questions and have some accountability with. My hope is that that speaks to those of you who can look for a mentor, as well as those of you who have the ability to be a mentor. Thanks for listening to this episode of the Ridge Podcast, and make sure to follow and subscribe so that you don't miss any hopeful and helpful conversations.